We're talking about the D-Day invasion and the plan to invade in Normandy in France and open up another front so that the Nazis could be surrounded on three sides. General Eisenhower, of course, if you know anything about history, he will later on become a president in the 1950s, but at this time he is leading the charge. He's the guy in charge of the overall planning and coordination with the British and the Canadians. And on June 6th, they're going to launch this D-Day invasion. And what you see here right now is the ships after they've secured the beach. After several hours of grueling fighting, the Americans, the British, and the Canadians are able to secure that beach. And what you're seeing here is unloading of supplies and vehicles and more men to continue the invasion into France and try to liberate the people of France. D-Day is an ugly scene, and even though Eisenhower was very worried about the casualties being high, the casualties for the Allies number in around 9,000, between 9 and 10,000, which is still a lot for a single day, but not nearly as close as what Eisenhower was possibly concerned about. And if this invasion didn't work, the war could have drug on for a lot longer. The invasion now is going to allow things to come to a close a little bit more quickly. What you see right here is a map showing you of how the British, the Americans, and the Canadians are going to move through France. You see early on those little color splotches in there are where they establish beachheads, meaning they get a position on the beach. It's an area they can defend. They're not going to get pushed back out into the ocean. And you see each one of those lines, like the green solid line and then the green dotted line, so forth, show you where the battlefront moves to. So they're going to push down into France and then start pushing them eastward. And it's going to take a while. You see that freeing France is not going to be easy. It's June 6th when D-Day launches, but D-Day is only the beginning of what's called Operation Overlord. Operation Overlord is that invasion into France, and the idea is to free France from Nazi control. Now, you can see that the arrows showing the British, the American, and the Canadian armies moving through France, and now Hitler and the Nazis realize they are in some serious trouble. You take a look at this by 1944, summer of 1944, you see that the Nazis are surrounded on three sides. You get the Russians that are coming from the east. You have the British, the Americans, and the Canadians coming through France, and then you have the other British and American army coming up through Italy, and they are slowly surrounding the Nazis and taking back territory that was once free and independent countries. Okay. Now, an important marker in July of 1944 of the progress is the liberation of Paris. Paris had been under the control of the Nazis since early in the war for over 3 years. And you see right here Charles de Gaulle, the man that had been the head of the French resistance. He's the guy in the hat, the very tall fellow in the hat. And what's very important here, Dwight Eisenhower and other American and other British officials agreed that de Gaulle and French officials should be the first ones to go into Paris after the Nazis had left, as a show that we're not here to take over, we're here to restore the French people, their country. And so de Gaulle comes in, you see in the background the Arc de Triomphe. It's a very triumphant day. You'll also see a lot of other strange things. It's a party atmosphere. The people who were there, who wrote accounts of it, said that the alcohol flowed like water that night. And you see right here, the women were very appreciative of American, British, French, and Canadian soldiers who had helped. So it was definitely a party lifestyle. You also see right here something that we don't see really much in the world today. You see French women waving a French flag and an American flag. A lot of the people who are from that generation who still live in France today have a very favorable opinion of the United States in the long run. You also see some surrendering German officials here. A lot of them had retreated and abandoned the city, but not all of them got away. So they were forced to surrender, and you can see people in the background who are looking at them and in a very angry fashion. Also, you see right here British soldiers, and you see as part of the French resistance helping free the city. That woman is not a soldier, but she's participating as part of the French resistance, and so she can handle herself. Obviously, she's carrying a submachine gun, and that will do quite a bit of damage to a person. So, with Paris now free, France is becoming independent again, and the Nazis are surrounded on three sides. They decide to put one last Hail Mary into effect here. They're going to concentrate all of their military forces into one last gasp effort to attack the Allies. In December 1944, Germany launches its final attack in World War II, where uh, in what's called the Battle of the Bulge. And they call it the Battle of the Bulge because what you see here on the attack line is that the Nazis push forward into that red area. They wanted to get where the red dotted line is, but they pushed the British and the American military back significantly. But over time, the Americans and the British are going to overwhelm them. The Nazis put everything they had into this last gasp attack, but it's not going to work out because the German soldiers are tired. They don't have as many resources, and deep down, partly they know it's over. They know that in the long run, they're not going to win this war. The Battle of the Bulge, though, remembered because there are a lot of people who were killed, and while this battle's going on, the concentration camps are still at work exterminating people. And so, for the Americans and the British and the French and the Canadians and the rest of the Allies, they understand the importance of this battle because every moment that they're delayed getting to some of these camps, you're talking about people who are living in captivity and they're one moment closer to death. Battle of Bulge, also known for the cold weather environment. You see here men marching in the snow, snowy, icy conditions. It's winter in 1944. It had to be terribly frustrating to try to fight in any environment, let alone a ridiculously cold one. And you see this soldier right here doesn't look like he is pleased to be there one bit. But after the Battle of the Bulge, it's pretty clear to every observer that there is no more opportunity really for Germany to win this war. 1945 rolls around, and there's another meeting between the big three. You get Churchill, Roosevelt, and Stalin together at Yalta, which is in the Soviet Union. And at Yalta, they're going to start planning what to do with the world after the war is over. And they know that Germany could surrender at any moment. So it's early 1945. And at the Yalta conference, they plan a couple things. The Soviet Union, they want Eastern Europe to be under their influence. Not necessarily to take the land or to control the land, but they want governments that are friendly to them. They wanted a buffer zone to make sure that Germany could not do anything to them in the future. They also wanted Germany divided up. They agreed that they would carve up Germany into four distinct zones. One would be controlled by the Soviet Union, one would be controlled by Great Britain, the United States, and then one zone for France as well. And so at Yalta, they promised that. They also get Stalin to promise that Poland would be allowed to exist and that they would have free and fair elections, which might or might not happen. They also get Stalin to promise to be part of the United Nations. That's what Franklin Roosevelt and Churchill are planning after the war. They realized that the League of Nations didn't work because the most powerful nations weren't involved. And so at this Yalta conference, they're getting a lot of stuff done. A lot of what they're doing is hashing out what to do with the land that various groups have and what to do with the people. They also agreed that the German people would have to go through denazification, which we'll talk about later on too. So Yalta, it's early in 1945. They come to these conclusions, and every day that passes, Germany is realizing it's all but over for them.